Let's go to breaking news as we're just getting new numbers in. A brand new Monmouth University poll, and it shows that Hillary Clinton's beating Donald Trump by 7 points. There's a 7-point lead for Secretary Clinton among registered voters. Governor Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, of course, is here with us, and that follows the trend of the last few polls. What do you make of this race?
It's way, way too early to start seeing anything in terms of it being settled in concrete. This is very soft.
Right.
Look, at this point, in 1980, Jimmy Carter was wiping Ronald Reagan out. In 1988, Michael Dukakis was going to be the next president. In the year 2000, it was Al Gore. Year 2004, John Kerry was going to beat George W. Bush in his re-election. So at this stage of the game, all we have is this little snapshot. What happens over the next few weeks, and particularly from the conventions forward, is what's going to matter. Right now, polls are interesting, but they're not very revealing.
Right, and the understood, fair point, you're right, the historical precedent is certainly there. The trend, though, has not been Donald Trump's friend the last couple of weeks, and there have been what many have described as unforced errors by Mr. Trump. I don't know if you would agree, and if that's what you think is going on here with Corey Lewandowski out as campaign manager.
Well, one of the things I think this teaches us is that Donald Trump is a man who, if he has folks who have served him well, but maybe aren't serving him as well as he wants them to, he lets them go. I mean, I think a lot of Americans are going to say, by gosh, we'd like to have a president who would fire somebody at the VA when they didn't take care of the veterans, right, who would fire somebody at the IRS when they trampled all over people's rights.
Let me challenge you on that, though, because I think there's one key difference in this. I may be wrong about this, but Lewandowski, to me, is a let Trump be Trump guy, right? So you're essentially firing the guy or dropping the guy who wants you to be yourself. If you look at it that way, which is a little, that doesn't say things are going great, you know?
Connell, I don't care who they hire. Nobody is going to keep Donald Trump from being Donald Trump.
I agree with that.
That's the one thing I think we've all learned over the past year since Donald Trump got into this race. He's going to be who he is. He's going to do what he wants to do. And maybe that was where Corey put the focus. But I think you've seen the same kind of emphasis, whether it's with Paul Manafort or anyone else in the campaign. They realize they have a very unique candidate, and there's no point in trying to put a a bit in his mouth and guide him around like a pony around the stall. It ain't going to happen.
Well, you think about any job you're in, right? The first advice someone usually gives you that's been in the job longer, they say, well, what should I do? And almost everybody says, you know what, be yourself. Yeah. That's what they always say.
Exactly.
And now the opposite is being talked about with Donald Trump. They're saying he needs to change, he needs to pivot, he needs to be this, he needs to be more serious, he needs to read the teleprompter. He may not be as successful a candidate doing those types of things, will he? If he does change, I don't know.
No, he's got to be who he is. The authenticity of Donald Trump is the reason he is where he is. Look, I said throughout the campaign when people were saying, I don't understand this guy, how come he's doing well? I said, because he's saying at the podium what a lot of people are saying around their kitchen tables. They're just saying it in very private circles.
But are there enough people doing it? Because that's enough to win you a primaries, you know, from
remind me of that, thank you very much.
You know, but is it enough to beat Hillary Clinton?
He didn't just win. He won with a bigger margin than any Republican in history.
I understand. Right, so, but that's a Republican primary. Are there enough people with that strategy? Because now, again, the story is he needs to change. He needs to broaden it out. He doesn't have enough support to do it. He's losing these battleground states. The Monmouth poll is the most recent to show that.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between saying he needs to change and he needs to broaden the perspective, the message, the personnel.
Okay, how do you do that?
Sure. Well, you hire people to organize in the states. There's still some old-fashioned campaign fundamentals that have to be done. Some of this is blocking and tackling. He hasn't had to do it up until now. I think going forward, he needs to do more of that. But that's not so much what he will do. That's what his people will get done.
So you think a lack of organization, it's fair to say, has hurt the campaign a little bit. So that's really, as opposed to changing the candidates. Sometimes he makes fun of the Hillary Clinton staff for being, you know, hundreds and hundreds, and he only has a few. He might need to
frankly, I think she's grossly overstaffed. I mean, a lot of these campaigns, they get so much money, they feel obligated to go spend it all. And you know what? Then they get elected, and you know what they do? They spend all our money.
Right.
And they keep raising taxes and spend some more. So, frankly, if Donald Trump can get elected president on a fraction of the number of people working for him that Hillary does, it would bode well for his presidency. Let's pray to God that happens.
Can I ask you about the UK? We were just talking about it before I let you go, because it seems like there are some parallels in the conversations that they're having over trade and certainly over immigration. What do you make of what's happening over there?
I think no matter which way this vote goes, the more significant thing about the vote is that it is happening, is that there are enough people in Great Britain, a significant number, maybe a majority, maybe not, but a significant number that are tired of seeing the loss of their country, their culture, their way of life, and that's what they see. You go to Europe and you don't recognize it as European. There are places in Europe, you look around, you say, where am I? And I do believe that this is something that sort of maybe foretells what a lot of people in America are experiencing. They like their country, their culture. If people want to come here and assimilate into this culture, great. But if they want to come here and turn us into a Sharia law-abiding culture, the answer is no.
Are you on the leave side? Not that you'd have a say in it, certainly, of course, obviously, but is that something you think? I mean, I know Trump's weighed in, for example, and said that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people of the UK will make the decision. I will happen to be there when this happens on Thursday, so it'll be a fascinating time. But I don't feel, invested in it one way or the other. If it does happen, I think it will be a shock to the world, especially to the same establishment types in Britain as we have in parallels in the United States, who still can't get their heads out of their backsides long enough to understand how mad the public is at them.
Right. So you'll just be there right on separate business, not involved in this, just observe. It'll be fun to watch.
I'm not there to vote.
Good to see you, by the way.
Great to see you, Donald.
Governor Huckabee with us today.